Happy Peeps, Suzanna here today to share with you some fall inspiration based on my October 2017 Cocoa Daisy kit. That was the layout, and I used these two pictures of my daughter laying in her cozy place with her book. This is her favorite place to be in fall. Actually, this is her favorite place to be in spring, summer, fall, and winter. Anywhere with a cozy book is good for her. And I converted these pictures to black and white, and I originally had a white background and decided that the pictures were more noticeable with the it's kind of more of an ecru-y, mustardy, yellowy sort of a background. And I used these day in the life cards to back the pictures. You can see I kind of went with a color scheme here with that mustardy, ecru-y brown, the darker brown, and the salmon-y pinks. And I have these 4 stamps. They're background stamps. They are not from Cocoa Daisy. They're from somewhere else that I wanted to incorporate into the layout to give that that texture that's in that One Canoe 2 paper that I used as the background back there. I had stamped out, you can see it's missing from the innard of the day in the life card there, but I had used some of the cards as well as some sticky back cork and used a die cut and cut some leaves out using a Lawn Fawn die, and then I pulled out some embellishments from the kit that had coordinating colors. You can see I put them all on that piece of paper from my Xyron sticker maker. It's just the sticky backing, and I saved them so I can use them for placement of elements there. So I knew that I wanted to use those distress oxide inks that I have on the right hand side of my mat there, and they coordinated with the layout colors from the One Canoe 2. That was my unifying color theme that pulled it all together. And then I wanted to figure out other ways of incorporating some of the elements from the kit into the layout. So I really wanted to use that chipboard piece, that day in the life card that I had used on another element, and it would have looked perfect on the left hand side of that photo there, but because I had created a symmetrical sort of layout and didn't have the other half of it to put on the top right of that picture, I decided to leave that. So I figured out the placement of all my elements, and it was time to stamp on the layout, but I needed to trim it first because I knew that I wanted to have that background showing through. And I actually wasn't sure how the distress inks, distress oxide inks were going to look on this particular paper with the colors that I had chosen. So I went ahead and used the edge as a sample to see if that was going to work. And indeed they did. So I finished trimming off the paper, and now I'm going to place down the day in the life cards that I'm using to back the pictures so that I can get the symmetry of the stamped squares around the layout. So I'm just going to adhere those down, and I remembered that there's not a lot of that salmon-y pink in this collection, and I really like it, so I wanted to save the innards of the cards because really all you were going to see was the little bits poking out of the edges to create a layer behind the pictures. So I just trimmed out the insides and then stuck those down so that it gave me an alignment for the squares that I was going to put in. So I continue with that brown and stamp that down. Now each of those 4 different squares is a different texture, and it created a fun organic feel to the paper, as well as matched that organic sort of texture that's in that One Canoe 2 plaid. This is a lighter sort of a mustardy color, which turns out really nice because they're the same hue, so it actually made it darker. And you'll see that this next yellow that I stamp actually is not very visible. And later on I will go and take care of that. You can see it, but it's difficult to see. So then my 4th square I'm going to stamp with that fired brick red, which is just a darker hue really of those salmon-y colors that I've used on the layout there. clean off my stamps and then set to putting all the rest of the elements back on the page. And that wood veneer, which is a Cocoa Daisy exclusive, is one of my favorite bits of the kit. I really loved that, and I knew that that was going to be used for this particular layout, along with the chipboard piece that says me, my book, and I. So I don't have any more of this paper, and I knew it was just going to be a border, and I thought I might fussy cut some of these pink flowers for another layout. I had toyed with the idea of doing it for this particular layout, but the flowers don't really go with the fall theme and the fall leaves that I had put here, so I don't end up fussy cutting any of them, but I still do remove the center. I gutted the paper so that I could use that for another project. It just helps make the kits last a little longer and stretch them further for other projects. So I laid down the adhesive on the gutted piece and then laid my project on top so that it was framed by that one canoe too. So now I want to put these 3 clusters of leaves that I've arranged. That is a chipboard piece, the top one, and then those are just pieces that I cut out from pattern paper as well as the cork. And my original thought was that I would put it here, those particular leaves, but then move it to the center. And I just move it there for a little bit more symmetry to the page to draw your eye into the center that says My Cozy Place. And so this is where I decide that that lighter square is not going to work and that I really need to put something else there. But I get distracted by that element there, and I like the triangle, the visual triangle created by the 3 leaves with the picture by the leaves by the picture better. So I've got my thread and I create a thread ball and I end up creating 3 thread balls, one behind each of the leaf clusters that I've got there for the embellishments. And I used my liquid adhesive to glue that down. And the leaf says fall, and it ends up, I put in fave with those pink Pretty Little Studio stickers there. So here I am looking for that element that I'm going to cut a square out of to just darken that up, because it is really hard to see. And I decide to go with this white wood grain, again from the Day in the Life kit. It's one of the 6x6 pieces, and just cut down a square the same size as the stamped squares there. And while it's different, it works for me. I had toyed with the idea of stamping over it, but it was going to end up looking muddied, so the pattern paper was a better solution. Now I wanted a piece of something that was going to unify that one canoe two into and sort of blend your eye in towards the layout, and I liked what these stripes did for that. And by cutting them asymmetrically, I was able to sort of soften that line in the transition between the gutted piece and the cardstock there. So I just made another thread ball for my leaf cluster, and I use a chipboard acorn from the exclusives to just add a third element to that. Here we go, little acorn. Again, adding to that fall theme of the layout there, and then just adhere these down. I do add 2 elements to this layout that I end up doing off camera. I seem to do a lot of off camera. It's sort of those uniting touches that you can't see when you're filming. And I put a piece of twine up the top there, and then from one of the print and cut files that says Autumn is my favorite, I put at the bottom one there, and you'll see that I put a little cork leaf. And that cork leaf will stay there. It just doesn't look so lonely down there by itself with the banner that I put in. So this is the last cluster that I'm putting together with the leaves and then that chipboard piece there. And then I want to finish working on the title. I do embellish a little bit more. I put that puffy sticker there that says warm and cozy is a state of mind. And one of the other things that I do off camera is, again, from the print cut files, I use an arrow that goes where that red square is to just balance that square that's pointing in towards the pictures. And this is one of the chipboard hearts. It needed a little bit of the dark brown because I've got it at the top and then in the leaf, and I just felt like it needed another piece of brown to just balance everything out. And I didn't pull it off very well, so I ended up having to use adhesive to lay that down. And then this is where I pull out these salmon-y letter stickers from Pretty Little Studio, and I just V them to create a little bit of a banner to finish off the title there. So this is my fall inspiration layout for Cocoa Daisy. I hope you are inspired to play along and create some fall inspiration when your kits come in. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the box down below. Thanks for joining me today, and have a great day. Enjoy the close-ups that follow. See you soon. Take care.